The moment she starts acting like you don't matter is the exact moment she's watching how much you think you matter. And if you react the wrong way, you lose her without even realizing it. When a woman pretends you don't matter, when her texts get shorter, when her energy feels colder, when she suddenly seems busy all the time, most men panic. They think they did something wrong. They replay conversations in their head. They try to fix it. They send longer messages. They become more available. They try to prove their value. And without realizing it, they walk straight into the trap because indifference is rarely about hate. It's about attraction shifting. And when attraction shifts, she starts observing you, not consciously in a calculated way, but emotionally. She's watching how you handle uncertainty. She's watching how you respond to distance. She's watching whether your confidence is real or whether it was just an act that depended on her approval. This is where emotional strength becomes everything. A man who doesn't understand his value reacts. A man who doubts himself tries to convince. He says everything okay. He says, "Did I do something wrong?" He seeks reassurance, but every time he does that, he communicates something far louder than words. My emotional state depends on you. And the moment your emotional stability depends on her behavior, attraction starts dying. Real strength isn't loud, it isn't aggressive, it isn't dramatic, it's controlled, it's grounded. It's calm under pressure. When she pulls back and you remain centered, when her energy shifts and yours stays steady, that's when she feels something different. That's when she senses that your confidence isn't fragile, it's internal. Women are deeply attracted to emotional certainty, not arrogance, not coldness, certainty. The kind of certainty that says, I enjoy you, but I don't need you to validate me. The kind of certainty that doesn't crumble when attention fluctuates. When she pretends you don't matter and you overreact, you confirm that she was your emotional anchor. But when she pretends you don't matter and you continue focusing on your mission, your routine, your growth, your goals, without bitterness, without games, you send a powerful message your world does not revolve around her presence. And that changes the dynamic because now she's not dealing with a man who is trying to be chosen. She's dealing with a man who chooses himself first. And that's rare. That's attractive. That's unsettling in the best possible way. Most men fail this test because they don't even realize it's happening. They think attraction is maintained by doing more texting, more reassurance, more effort. But often attraction is maintained by emotional composure, by not over investing when the investment isn't being matched, by holding your frame when uncertainty appears. The moment she acts like you don't matter is not the moment to fight for attention. It's the moment to demonstrate stability because the man who remains steady under emotional pressure becomes the man she can't easily replace. Stay centered and let your silence speak. Attention is power, and most men give it away like it's worthless. When you're constantly available, constantly texting first, constantly checking her stories, constantly reacting to every small shift in her mood, you're sending a message without realizing it. You're saying, my time revolves around you. And the moment your time revolves around her, she stops revolving around you. Attention is emotional currency. The more scarce it is, the more valuable it becomes. The more predictable and unlimited it is, the less it's respected. Think about it. When she knows you'll text good morning every single day, no matter how she responds, when she knows you'll double text if she takes too long, when she knows you'll always initiate plans even if she barely invests, there's no tension, there's no uncertainty, there's no risk of losing you. And without risk, attraction slowly fades. A lot of men confuse consistency with over pursuing. Consistency is grounded and calm. Over pursuing is anxious and approval seeking. One comes from strength, the other comes from fear of losing her, fear of being replaced, fear of not being enough. But here's the truth, the more you try to lock someone down with attention, the more you communicate that you don't believe you can be replaced, that insecurity leaks through your behavior. And women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to emotional energy. She may not consciously say, "Hey's overinvested," but she feels it. When you're too available, you remove mystery. When you respond instantly every time, you remove anticipation. When you validate her constantly without her earning it, you lower the perceived value of your approval. And approval from a man who approves of everything isn't powerful. The strongest position in dating is not indifference, it's selective investment. That means you match her energy. You give attention when it's reciprocated. You step back when it's not. You don't punish. You don't complain. You simply adjust. If she takes 6 hours to reply, you don't sit there staring at your phone waiting. You continue living. If she cancels plans without effort to reschedule, you don't chase. You let her show whether she values your time because your time is valuable. Most men act like they have unlimited emotional supply, unlimited attention, unlimited patience. But high value men operate differently. Their attention must be earned, not through games, not through manipulation, but through mutual effort. When she senses that your attention isn't automatic, that it's given intentionally, something shifts. Now she has to invest to receive it. Now she feels the subtle possibility of losing access to your presence, and that possibility creates curiosity. Curiosity creates pursuit. Pursuit reignites attraction. You don't become cold. You don't become distant. You simply stop overgiving. You stop chasing what isn't chasing you back. You redirect your energy into your mission, your fitness, your friendships, your purpose. And ironically, when your life becomes fuller without her at the center, she starts noticing the space she might be losing. Attention is powerful when it's controlled. And the moment you stop giving it away too cheaply, your value rises without you saying a word. Protect your attention and watch how the dynamic changes. The savage thing isn't yelling, it isn't posting pictures to make her jealous, it isn't sending a long paragraph explaining how she hurt you. The real power move is much quieter than that. It's controlled, it's disciplined, it's the ability to remove your validation completely without announcing that you're doing it. When a woman starts acting like you don't matter, most men try to increase their presence. They think more effort will fix it, more reassurance, more compliments, more availability. But the moment attraction dips, adding more validation usually makes it worse because now she feels no emotional tension. She feels no risk. She feels no possibility of losing you. And human nature doesn't value what feels guaranteed. So the savage thing is this: you stop feeding the dynamic that's lowering your value. You stop initiating every conversation. You stop sending good morning texts out of habit. You stop complimenting her when she's giving you nothing in return. You stop explaining yourself. You stop asking where you stand, not from anger, not from ego, but from clarity. Calm emotional withdrawal is powerful because it forces a shift. When your validation disappears, she feels the space. When your attention is no longer automatic, she notices the difference. When you stop chasing, the pursuit energy changes direction. Most men don't realize how much reassurance they've daily. Every quick reply, every heart emoji, every immediate response to her mood swings, every attempt to smooth over tension. That constant validation becomes predictable, and predictability without challenge slowly kills attraction. But when you pull back calmly, without drama, you create uncertainty, not toxic uncertainty, not manipulative silence, just a simple shift. You invest where investment is returned. Now she has to wonder, why isn't he texting like before? Why isn't he reacting? Why does he seem focused on his own life? That curiosity is powerful because attraction thrives in emotional space. It thrives when there's room to feel something. And when you're constantly filling every silence with effort, there's no space left for her to lean forward. The key is that your withdrawal must be genuine. If you pull back while secretly hoping she panics, she'll feel the tension. If you go silent just to provoke a reaction, your energy will still feel needy. The real shift happens when you actually redirect your focus. You hit the gym harder. You spend time building your purpose. You go out with friends. You invest in yourself, not as a strategy, but as a lifestyle. Because here's the truth: the strongest position you can ever be in is not needing a specific outcome. When she senses that your world keeps moving with or without her, something changes. You're no longer the man trying to be chosen. You're the man who chooses where his energy goes, and that's rare. Most men try to control the situation with words. Real power is controlling your availability. When you remove validation calmly, you're not punishing her. You're resetting the dynamic. You're reminding her without saying it that access to you is earned, not guaranteed. Silence, when backed by self respect, speaks louder than any argument ever could. When you step back and become less available, it isn't about playing games or being petty. It's about creating space for reflection. Most men think they need to constantly fill every moment with attention messages or effort to maintain attraction, but the truth is the opposite. When you stop being predictably present, something shifts. Scarcity isn't manipulation, it's natural psychology. Humans value what isn't always within reach. And the moment you stop giving yourself away too freely, she begins to notice what she was taking for granted. When she acts like you don't matter, most men respond by trying harder. They send longer texts, initiate more calls, or attempt to convince her of their value. That behavior communicates desperation. It screams that your attention is conditional, and anything conditional loses power and attraction dynamics. When you withdraw calmly, you give her a chance to reflect, not because you're punishing her, but because you're demonstrating that your energy is precious and not freely available to anyone who acts indifferent. This reflection works on a subtle but deep emotional level. When she senses that she doesn't automatically have access to your time, your presence, or your approval, it forces a reevaluation. She begins to ask herself questions she wasn't asking before. Did I take him for granted? Did I push too far? Was I too comfortable assuming he would always be there? Those questions don't happen consciously at first, but the emotional tension builds, and tension is what reignites attraction. Attraction thrives when there's curiosity and a sense of uncertainty about someone who matters. Scarcity creates desire because it triggers the natural human need to seek what is limited. When you remain calm, purposeful, and consistent with your own life while pulling back, you aren't being distant, you are being self respecting. You are showing that your time, your attention, and your validation are valuable and they must be earned. This isn't about controlling her, it's about controlling yourself, maintaining your standards, and living life on your terms. The moment she senses that your focus isn't fixated solely on her, she subconsciously starts to measure her behavior, her priorities, and her effort in your direction. The irony is that most men think giving more attention will solve indifference, when in reality, reducing availability is what flips the dynamic. It doesn't make you cold, it makes you magnetic. It signals that your life is full, your purpose is strong, and your energy is not disposable. You're no longer reacting to her mood swings or emotional games. You're standing firm in your own reality, and that stability is magnetic because it contrasts sharply with the emotional uncertainty she has been creating. Reflection also allows her to see you as the prize again. She begins to notice your calm confidence, your independence, and your self respect. These qualities were always there, but when they weren't contrasted with scarcity, they blended into the background. Now, because your attention isn't guaranteed, she recognizes it as something rare, something worth earning, and something she wants to be part of. When you step back and create that space, you aren't pushing her away. You're giving both of you the opportunity to recalibrate. Attraction, respect, and desire all grow naturally in that space. This is the moment when she begins to see you not just as someone available, but as someone valuable, and that realization changes everything. True attraction isn't created by effort or chasing, it's created by independence. When a man becomes outcome dependent, he gives away his power without even realizing it. He measures his mood, his confidence, and his energy based on how she reacts, and in doing so, he places her in control of his emotional state. Most men fail because they believe attraction is something they can earn or manipulate through persistence, but the truth is, attraction grows when you stop needing her to act a certain way. Outcome independence is not a tactic, it's a mindset. It's the understanding that your happiness, your purpose, and your self worth are not contingent on her validation. When you embrace this fully, your energy changes. You stop reacting to her moods. You stop over explaining. You stop trying to predict how she will respond to your texts or calls. Your attention becomes selective, your presence intentional, and your confidence genuine. When she senses that you're not emotionally dependent on her, she instinctively recognizes strength. There's no arrogance, no posturing, just grounded certainty. Most women respond to men who lead emotionally. Emotional leadership doesn't mean controlling her or her actions. It means controlling yourself. It means choosing how you spend your energy, what you give attention to, and what standards you uphold. A man who is emotionally independent doesn't chase indifference. He doesn't argue over inconsistencies. He simply maintains his life, his routines, and his purpose. This isn't coldness, it's clarity. And clarity is magnetic. When you let go of outcome dependence, everything shifts in the dynamic. Suddenly, she isn't the center of your universe. She isn't the measure of your success, your mood, or your energy. She begins to notice the man who stands on his own, whose value doesn't fluctuate based on attention received. She begins to feel the space where you were once reactive, and that space creates curiosity. It makes her reflect, it makes her reassess. And in that reassessment, attraction begins to grow again, but this time it's built on respect, desire, and recognition of your emotional strength rather than convenience or validation. The power of outcome independence also lies in the freedom it gives you. You can make decisions from strength, not fear. You can invest attention intentionally rather than reactively. You can walk away from patterns that drain you and pursue what elevates you. And in doing so, you communicate something far more compelling than words ever could, that your life is full, your standards are high, and your presence is a privilege, not a given. Most men overlook this because they equate effort with value. They think proving themselves repeatedly will keep her interested, but effort without independence is desperation. Confidence without purpose is hollow. When you detach from the outcome, you combine both purpose and confidence. You live for yourself first, and the effect on her is natural and undeniable. She doesn't chase you because you push, she chases you because she feels the power of your grounded energy, your independence, and your self respect. When you adopt outcome independence, you no longer fear rejection or indifference. You operate from strength, clarity, and certainty, and in that space, attraction flourishes naturally, effortlessly, and irresistibly. The ultimate power move in any relationship isn't about proving a point or forcing a reaction. It's about reclaiming your own value and becoming the prize again. Too many men focus on trying to win her back, convincing her, or explaining themselves, and in doing so, they hand over their emotional authority. The truth is, real power comes from elevating yourself to a level where your presence is no longer something she can take for granted. When you operate from that mindset, the dynamic shifts entirely. She begins to recognize that the man she once assumed she had control over is now the man in control of his own life. Becoming the prize doesn't mean arrogance, showing off, or playing manipulative games. It's about living with purpose, integrity, and confidence. It's about understanding that your worth isn't measured by her attention, her affection, or her approval. When you elevate your standards and refuse to tolerate behavior that doesn't match your value, you automatically command respect. Women are wired to notice confidence paired with self respect, and nothing is more magnetic than a man who lives fully according to his own principles, regardless of how she behaves. This doesn't mean you withdraw completely or act indifferent out of spite. It means you set boundaries naturally, without explanation or apology. You invest in your health, your ambitions, your passions, and your friendships. You become the man who is exciting, interesting, and complete without needing her to validate your life. And when she sees this transformation, it sparks a natural attraction that is impossible to fake. She begins to reflect on what she may have taken for granted, and in that reflection, desire is reignited. Most men overlook this principle because they confuse effort with value. They believe that constantly chasing or over explaining will secure her attention. But effort without self respect and independence looks desperate. Effort aligned with purpose, standards, and emotional strength communicates power. It signals that you're not a man who needs to be chosen, but a man who chooses wisely. And that choice always holds weight in the eyes of someone who truly desires quality. Becoming the prize also reshapes the dynamic of attraction itself. Instead of being predictable, you become a challenge in the healthiest sense. A man who is fully available to those who invest in him and selectively invested where effort is reciprocated. Scarcity paired with genuine value creates tension, and tension is the fuel of attraction. The more you prioritize your life and your purpose, the more magnetic you become, and the more she sees that access to your attention and your presence is something earned, not freely given. At the same time, becoming the prize doesn't mean you are unkind or dismissive. It means that your kindness, your attention, and your energy are reserved for those who respect them. You are no longer bending to emotional games or tolerating indifference because your focus is on your growth and your path. That level of self respect is not just attractive, it's irresistible. Ultimately, when you elevate yourself and become the prize, you stop reacting to behavior that undermines your value. You create a life where attraction, respect, and connection are natural consequences of your confidence and integrity. She either rises to meet your level or she walks away, and in both scenarios, you win because you've claimed your power, your standards, and your worth without compromise.